tonight were requests to address the board. I had a Megan Y. I'm not sure. Sorry, what's the last name? Yazek. Coming up. Welcome, Megan.
Hello. Yeah, I just would like to offer a perspective on some of the key themes we've heard tonight. And just for quick context, I've lived in Midland for more than 30 years, but I didn't grow up here. So I don't have any nostalgia about our schools, and my daughter will graduate Dow High before any of this comes to pass. So really, I'm here tonight because I want Midland to be my forever home. And I see the connection between quality schools and quality of life, and I believe that it benefits all voters and not just parents to invest in our schools, because it helps us, attract and retain quality workers for our businesses and sustain our population and our tax revenue for the services and the amenities we want. And so, right or wrong, it has been unfortunately framed in the community that to make that investment, to approve those dollars, we're either locking in a specific brick and mortar solution, or worse, that we're giving carte blanche to maybe not even this board, but some board of the future to choose that brick and mortar solution. And so whether that's accurate or not, it is a barrier to approval, and it will need to be addressed. And secondly, I think that this fear that consolidation of schools would result in loss of opportunities keeps getting dismissed as kind of inaccurate or emotional or imaginary, but it's real and it matters. When asked to choose between new buildings and more opportunities for our children, our community chooses more opportunities every time. So if we're serious about combining schools, and maybe we are and maybe we aren't, but we will have to be able to assure the public we can do that without cutting opportunities, and we'll have to concretely demonstrate that, not just say that. We're talking about two high schools that are already individually large. They are twice the median enrollment of Michigan schools, and there are only 5 schools in all of Michigan that are as big as Dow and Midland combined. And they're already sharing resources. They share a stadium, they share a theater, they share a trades program. So even though we hear about declining enrollment, unless you're talking about enrollment that's going to be less than 900 anytime soon, it will almost assuredly mean fewer spots on varsity sports teams and in student government and marching band and school plays, et cetera. So I think we'll have to demonstrate why that wouldn't be the case if that's not the case. And we hear that maybe academic opportunities will improve, but 10 years from now, my daughter will not know or care how to factor a quadratic equation or diagram a sentence or conjugate a Spanish verb. She may not even remember the names of any of the kids she sat next to in English, but she will never forget what it felt like to tap dance on the rooftops in her school musical, or watch her cross-country team hoist a regional championship cup or medal at DECA States. And she'll never forget cheering for her Midland High friends in music and sports either, because for her, there's no rivalry. Twice the schools means twice the opportunities to watch her friends shine. Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Megan was the only one that signed up ahead of time. Does anybody else want to address the board? Welcome, Joe.
Hello. Obviously off the cuff, since I didn't know what they were going to say, and I didn't bring my binoculars, so if you could put the slides up on the website with the agenda, it'd be nice to be able to read it all. It would be also nice to get the survey raw data to be able to take a look at some of that data, which we have done in the past, and it would be nice to be able to see it this time as well. Files, not PDF, so we can do keyword searches, if that's possible. You've heard the trust argument or presentation, et cetera. Your sinking fund is your first real opportunity to address that. Sinking fund with reporting. What did you do? Published, communicated on a regular basis. Where did the money go? If people think it goes into a black hole, they're not going to give you more money the next time. Lastly, communications. You now have 25 volunteers, or what I would consider unpaid agents of MPS, who are now going to be out there in social media doing whatever inside information you give them. I would like to know, one, do they have a code of conduct? Do they understand what they shouldn't do while representing you? We were attacked last time by a variety of anonymous people and all sorts of other stuff. Don't want to go through that again. Did they sign an NDA? Just be good to know. And also, who are the 25 people? Just so we understand if they are a citizen or an interested party. So that's all I have for now until I have a chance to review the slides. But I'm not surprised we ended up at a sinking fund, and you can actually use it to your advantage to say, we bought a bus and we didn't spend any interest getting it this time, like a bond.
Anybody else like to address the board? Welcome.
Hello, Renita Bonadis. I was just wanting to reiterate the transparency issue that we've addressed multiple times during public comment. One that I mentioned last month. So we were talking about the need to communicate and help educate the public. So last bond, we were constantly told the millage rate was going to feel like, and there was a 0.65 removed mills that was kind of wrapped in because, the 2015 bond is dropping. Well, last year, after the bond failed, the public did not get to see the 0.65 mills that were supposed to drop. Instead, they only got 0.45 of that. This year, at last month's meeting, again, the mills were supposed to drop based on what needed to be paid. 0.31 was supposed to be the drop. Instead, there was no drop. Instead, the board voted to keep it at 2.5 instead of the 2.19. So that took $900,000 out of the pockets of this community at a time you're getting ready to go to the ballot and ask them for more mills. Didn't really make sense to me to do that. Another thing, I guess I'm looking at the $549 million that the public was told was a need during the next 10 years. And I'm looking at the numbers that have been presented, even if the bond gets pushed out 2 years. In the next 20 years, essentially on bonds, you're going to only generate about $261 million. That doesn't begin to cover $549 million at today's price. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly was that $549 million. Was that to create almost brand new buildings? Was it going through and assessing basic needs to keep a building functional for an educational facility? I mean, our house, if I had somebody go through and go, just give me what it would make it to make it great, they might go, oh, well, you need $100,000. And I go, okay, but I can probably live in that house for a whole lot less in upgrades. So that $549 million seems to be a disconnect because the numbers presented are not even beginning to cover that in the next 10 years or even the next 20. So what is the real need that we're presenting to the community versus do we want all new roofs, all new lights, all new, not roofs, they're not the issue, sorry, ceilings, floor tiles, all new furniture. Does all of that have to be done in order for us to have a facility that will educate students in this community? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure. Welcome.
Thanks, all of you guys, for all the work that you did. I'm Suzanne Reel, and I just wanted to offer a little bit of hope for us. And as I was listening to your questions, and we're talking about Northeast, if you actually look at the facility assessment, go to slide 13, go to the total year 1 through 3 priorities. there's virtually zero roof system budget need in years 1 through 3. So that is not our highest priority. Maybe we need some patchwork or whatever. And if you look at the Northeast data and you kind of filter out some things that are like, well, that's really big, we're never going to do that, right? You get down to fire safety and maybe some patchwork. And so it's not, I don't think it has to be a huge investment that we're looking at for Northeast. I actually think if we used a set of parameters, all of our answers are right here in the data that has been collected. Probably people, Chris from Three Rivers and, the engineers have to actually look at it. But I actually think there's a lot we can accomplish with the sinking fund proposed, so.
Thanks, Suzanne. Anybody else?
Hi, Bill Domina. I just want to say I found this really very interesting meeting and I found it very effective. I really like the data analysis, Brady. It was very helpful. As far as communication, a lot of people have already said some of the things I was thinking, but I would keep it very basic. When I saw some of the glitzy, cutesy presentations, that kind of turned me off, like how much coffee a day cost and that stuff. I think you need to base it down to the very basics, like for the sinking fund. Say, we're going to buy so many buses, we're going to buy so many Chromebooks. Hopefully you guys will reduce that dramatically again, but there's a lot of that stuff that just say what it is, and that's what it's going to be. And then go into the high school. Ann convinced me that that was the right answer when she made some comments that it's just unsustainable. But I can understand that. But the average person probably wants to see in year 5, it's going to cost this much to have both. Understand why you're having, when you have to fund each one equally, when you don't have necessarily the right priorities is an issue. Those kind of real simple things that the average person, not the highly educated, classic, double income Dow person would understand, but just the basic, hey, this is what, if it was in your home, this is what it would be. And I think the communication would be much more effective, because I think when she said that, it was just 2 or 3 sentences, and I was convinced that's really what it is. So I think there's a lot of hope with that, and I really appreciate the willingness, to go after those sort of things. I will talk a little bit about the safety and security thing. I went through a safety and security training by Lion Safety Consulting at our St. John's Lutheran School and Church. And boy, was I really blown away by some of the statistics, the things that we think are very effective for safety and security. When you look at the FBI data and stuff, some of that stuff we thought was good, like barricading the doors with special locks to the floor. Statistically, that doesn't help. And there's a lot of money in that sort of thing. So I would actually ask you to hire this Lion Safety Consultant for a day and just kind of go over some of the data, because when you look at what we're going to buy, you may find that this stuff really is not that good of an effect from a statistical basis, but this is. And it may help you really laser focus on what safety and security would be the most effective for us. So I think there's a lot of really good opportunities now to really dive down into the specifics. And again, I really appreciate the detail and the willingness for you guys to really look at these options and really take the hard stance with the community reacting viscerally against one high school. But when you hear that, when the case is made, and I will say, I think, Dan, you do a great job of being very, very effective as being fair and community. So I read your articles and stuff, and I think working with him and the Facebook and stuff with that simplistic message would be very effective. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else? All right, I will move on to item number 4, study session discussions. Are there any points of clarification or questions from any board members?
Penny, I'd like to just make sure that we address, I'd just like to make sure that we address Joe's concern regarding the agency relationship with the steering committee and whether that exists or not, and that we provide some clarification one way or another.
I don't want to assume, but I think Joe might be referencing the new connections group that we're forming, that Katie will be leading. This was a new entity that we sent out an all call for any community member who is interested in joining. And we have 25 or so, 31 members of our community who volunteered to be part of this. Interestingly, I would liken it a little bit to the steering team. I think we haven't met yet. We had to postpone the first meeting, but on the surface, based on their application materials, a pretty diverse group. Not all who I would put in the bucket of being robust fans of Midland Public Schools. So, we're willing to see how this unfolds. We're looking for this to be a two-way communication engagement, an opportunity for them to share what they're hearing and insights they have, as well as, of course, share information back out into the community. So we'll keep the board informed along the way, and at some point, maybe even have a few of those members join us here at a board meeting.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Kind of. Yeah, whether that relationship actually exists in terms of the NDAs and the code of conduct and.
So at our first meeting, there is an intention to talk about what the parameters of engagement are, so to speak, and develop some working agreements of how we want to function.
Okay.
I don't think our intention was for it to be quite that detailed. It is, of course, a formally connected group, but we weren't looking for them to be MPS soldiers and go out and
Okay.
Run a mission.
That's my understanding of it as well.
Yes, and they still are independent citizens who certainly have their own voice and may agree or disagree with anything that's presented at these meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.